My music magazine, R5, uses conventions from real media products such as Q, Kerrang, and NME. I decided to base my magazine on Q as it is a general interest magazine. I used the same house style as the magazine, which consisted of colours such as red, white, black, and other elements such as sans serif fonts, which I used on the boost, the masthead, and the cover lines. I have followed the conventions of having a masthead because Q has their masthead at the top left hand corner, and I copied this convention as shown because R5 is in a red box at the top left hand corner of the magazine. It imitates the same kind of style as Q magazine. Here you can notice that I didn't really use any conventions from Kerrang no Mojo, because if we analyze their masthead, they do not have a red background, and Mojo is beyond central for my magazine. So in a way, you can say that my magazine challenges the conventions which are shown on both Kerrang and Mojo magazine. I developed the layout of the cover line being on the left hand side of the page going down in different sans serif fonts. By analysing different music magazines, I realised that on most of them they use dividers but not necessarily on the front page. So I use dividers on my front page to separate the cover lines and create a boost to get the audience's attention by using a banner on the front cover instead of a skyline that could be used as a cover line. The main cover line is in bold sans serif fonts, which stands out from the rest of the page. The pull quote creates enigma, and direct address is typically used to engage the audience to make them feel like it is aimed at them. So ultimately, both of these factors encourage the audience to buy the magazine to find out more about this artist. I used the same type shape of boost as Q because I felt that the circle shape boost is more appropriate for the genre I was going for. I decided to cover my masthead and like most of the Q magazines that I have analysed to show that my magazine is well established. My music magazine challenges forms of conventions by having a female on the front cover as my main image, who is not sexualized. The medium close-up of a short-haired girl shows that she is wearing a vintage jersey with a stripy top and a pair of sunglasses. In the other magazines such as Kerrang, Q and Mojo, women are sexualized. For example, Cheryl Cole on the front cover of Q magazine. Now they would be aiming their magazine towards the male gender, but for my magazine it is aimed for both male and female young adults. My magazine contents page follows media conventions of a real magazine such as Q and Kerrang by having a contents page that will help the audience navigate through the magazine. I follow certain conventions of Q magazine by having the images captioned in some way and by putting the masthead, the issue number at the top page, at the top of the page to identify that this is a contents page of R5. I also chose to caption the images with numbers, not words, because I wanted to create enigma that would make the audience turn the page to find out more about what the picture was about. I chose dividers just like Q on the Lana Del Rey contest page to give it a more neat and professional look. I developed the idea of having a subscription area in a black box with red and white writing to catch the reader's eyes. Just like in Q magazine, there's no letters from the editors like other music magazines such as NME discussing what features in the magazine they prefer and which ones they didn't. Even though my questionnaire results show that the audience considered the editor's letter as one of the most important features of a magazine, I decided to go against this. Even though my magazine is mainly based on Q magazine, I have chosen to challenge media conventions of Q and follow the conventions of NME magazine by having pull quotes as the main headlines. This creates enigma for the audience, which makes them want to read more about the article. And it is also used to drip feed information. It can also draw attention to the reader. Instead of the pull quote being placed at the top of the page, it is placed at the side of the page in sans serif bold font. The lead text is written in normal Arial font that gives an insight on what is featured in the article. Just like in Kerrang, my double page spread has an image and it is numbered and has pull quote. I also developed it and added some few dividers on the headline and to border the pull quote. the majority who listen to rock and indie music are mainly young Caucasian. This is a positive representation of Caucasian women within rock indie. My magazine is a representation of the indie social group. This is targeted through the different methods such as images, fonts, layout, etc. The front cover image features a female, which goes against the casual conventions of having a male as the main image. The magazine has certain connotations of a rock indie genre. The image helps those stereotypes to be shown through the mise-en-scène. Her wearing a striped t-shirt, vintage jacket, and a pair of sunglasses shows that she does not care about appearance, which is not like how most women are represented in media. Her post suggested that the artist is laid back and has such a chilled attitude. Throughout my magazine, there are images of women only. This challenges media conventions because in rock indie magazine they are populated by male gender. The pose of the female on the front cover gives direct address shows that she is strong and confident. This gives a positive impression of women. Even though my magazine is meant to be rock indie based, but I've decided to follow conventions of Q by making it a general interest magazine. You can tell because the image of Tender Eye connotes the stereotype of a jazz artist, and this is shown through the way she is dressed and what she is holding. She is wearing an old school shirt and a black skirt, and she is holding a saxophone, which is usually played in a jazz band. I have targeted my magazine towards the young adults as my images are of teenagers. Since as my target audience are of middle class, the price had to be appropriate, of £2.50. I used the booth to attract those who are daring enough to go to festival. I think that companies such as Bureau Media Group, a multinational media company headquarters in Germany which operates in 15 countries worldwide, would publish my magazine because it publishes similar magazines such as Kerrang and Q, and both of these have been analysed by myself. I think that they would have better distribution methods to reach my media product to a mass market rather than small-scale audience like the existing ones. It would be a great advantage for my magazine as it would mean that I will be able to address more possible consumers. It will get distributed in stores such as HMV and newsagents nationally because it has some artists who are not from the UK, such as The Throne Room, and it is in a language that is known worldwide, so it will appeal to a wider audience. From the results I got from my audience questionnaire, I found that the vast majority who would buy rock indie magazine are the young Caucasian audience. Ultimately, more men buy indie magazines than women. So according to my questionnaire and planning, the magazine R5 was meant to be aimed directly at the young Caucasian men who are aged between 15 and 25. But I decided to challenge conventions of having Caucasian male who aim for Caucasian, so instead the magazine is based around women of different ethnicity background, as there is an Afro-Caribbean girl on my contents page. According to my questionnaire, more people prefer to buy magazines monthly rather than weekly, and since as I am targeting the young audience with lower income, then the price had to be reasonable. The audience will pick up my magazine for all different purposes, such as to entertain, to inform on future events and gain a sense of security through knowledge, to build personal relationships, and for identity. I have attracted my targeted audience by using simple house colours of red, black and white to keep a constant house style. It also suggests a mature and adult theme. The main cover line is in bold sans serif BBAS font, which I downloaded. This stands out from the rest of the page, and it is the name of the fan artist, so it will attract the audience into buying the magazine. Offers such as exclusivity on the interview booth, saying that exclusive interview with the band members, this catches the onlookers' eyes and might persuade them to buy the magazine. The subscription area on the contents page, which is also in red and white, is effective because the red, black and white go really well together, and it also fits in with the house style. This offers the audience a cheaper way of accessing the magazine. At the bottom of the contents page, there is a link to a website which allows interaction online. The layout is kept professional with equal columns and borders around the page. This connotes a more calmer tone rather than an aggressive one which fits in with the genre indie. The images are sharp and have no captions but numbers to accompany them, but this creates enigma for the audience. If the audience want to find out information, they would have to go to the actual page. I addressed the audience in kind of a formal way with a few colloquial languages, for example, Miss Chino on the cover lines. This type of magazine was meant to be based around the indie/rock genre, but this issue is mainly based towards the indie sides of things, as the images are much more cleaner, so it addresses a much more calmer, laid-back audience. Here you can see that the language is much more formal, and this is so that it can reach out to the educated teens rather than the rebellious ones. During this project, I have learned how to use different types of technologies that I did not use before. The whole magazine was created on an Apple Mac where I learned how to print screen, and it taught me how to save my work on a memory stick or else it would delete itself. I used a software called Photoshop. I learned how to lay out my magazine using guides or rulers to give the magazine a professional look, to crop and transform images by pressing the shift buttons to make sure that then the image does not get compressed. The laser tool was used to manipulate images so that they would fit on the page. I found out how to add new layers. Having different layers allows you to edit things on the page separately, such as to put the images in front of the masthead or to adjust the size of the font against the background. Duplicating layers such as the masthead and the divided lines help you save time instead of drawing new lines or making the masthead from scratch. All of these things help make the magazine more attractive to an audience. One thing I learned is not to flatten the layers on Photoshop because you cannot undo it afterwards. I use curves to boost brightness, contrast and saturation on my images. I also use gutters, which are similar to rulers and text box, and all of these were a useful measure. I use a digital SLR camera to take most of my pictures because the pictures are of high quality even in a lower light. I use WordPress to document the process of my work. It is useful for storing my work if I did not have my memory stick before uploading it. And it is good because we had to keep a diary to show time management. The only bad things about WordPress is that everyone can see your work and that you cannot upload more than one image onto your post without it turning into a gallery. Looking back at my preliminary task, I have to say I have managed to make a magazine that is of high quality. I have learned how to keep a constant house style throughout the 3 pages with a limitation of 4 fonts, which is BBAS, Arial, Apples and Times New Romans. I did this so that my magazine looks more professional and not childish. The quality of my images is so much better as they are taken on an SLR, not a compact camera, and most of them are edited. I did not know how to use rulers to help with the layout of the pages. I did not have a main cover line or cover lines. This shows my lack of knowledge on magazines. The font on the masthead is the same as the rest of the pages, and the mise-en-scène was not really thought of properly. This made the page look boring and unattractive. On the barcode there's no date or issue number, and it is far too large for the page, taking away the attention from the image and other features. There are a lot of dead space where I could have filled it up with cover lines, a skyline, or a banner. The content page looks too plain and simple with just one type of font, but in different sizes. There were no typography used to make the name of the person, the number, or the entertainment stand out. There is only 2 images on the contents page that are taken without any consideration of mise-en-scène, the camera angle or the lighting. Overall, I have developed more skills throughout this project to help me create a more professional looking magazine that will get picked up in newsagents.